Well, we've got little Rita torn apart today again, and it is for a dead short somewhere. Not a dead short, sorry, it's a ground fault somewhere. This tractor has several built-in sort of neutral safety switches, and I've had to disable them before. It has one on the PTO, so if your PTO lever is engaged, I'll just show you, in case you guys have a similar, this is a Century 3040, Branson took them over, so maybe Branson's are the same or similar. So if you can look in here, see if you can actually see it, hang on a second. So you see this little button right there. If the camera will focus, that little spring load's got a little rubber booty on it. That little button, there's one on the bottom, and you can see the one up top, the booty's gone, and the button's broken and disconnected. That was my 540 PTO electric sensor. Mechanically, my PTO is disengaged, but the sensor was sticking, and so it was telling the engine, or telling the wiring system, that it was still engaged. So that one broke a long time ago, disengaged it. So the tractor, in theory, can start now even if the PTO is engaged, but I always make sure it's not. The other ones, on my shift linkage here, if I'm in forward or reverse, it's this little switch right here is a neutral safety switch, so it has to be in neutral. And if the clutch has to be pushed down, and that's this little button right here. So when you push the clutch in, oh, can you guys see that? Oh, that's weird. When you push the clutch in, the lever actually hits that little button and pushes it, so that makes a connection. Now those are all ground faults, and what I mean by that is, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this thing? Okay, there, focus. Anyway, so those are ground fault safety mechanisms. So what that does is when you go to turn the key, it basically breaks the loop, and it breaks the loop on the ground side of things, so you won't get positive power to your starter. Okay, here's my starter solenoid. This little wire right here, this is a black with red, is the wire marker, and there's a black with red coming off my ignition switch. I can disconnect this little plastic right now and expose that little metal tab, and if I arc here to that bolt right there, which is coming from my battery, tractor starts. Okay, basically hot wires it. It bypasses the key, it bypasses all those neutral safety switches, and that's what I've been doing now for like a month. But it works okay, but I'd rather be able to get on and turn the key. And I know if my father-in-law takes the tractor, which we're partners in the tractor, if he takes it and I tell him that he has to hotwire it, he's gonna get pissed off. So I'm trying to fix it, trying to troubleshoot, going through. I just tested my ignition switch. When I turn the key to the start position, the black with red wire coming off of the switch has power, which means it should send power down to here, but somewhere in between it's breaking. And so I've got to trace that now and figure out if it's on here. It shouldn't be a positive flow. These wires are black with white. It shouldn't be a positive flow interruption, but it's a negative flow interruption. So basically it keeps, this whole tractor is grounded back to the frame, but the ground has to flow through those safety switches. So if any of those safety switches aren't working, then the ground doesn't go back to the frame, and so the starter won't engage. So even if there's positive power to here, I'm kind of thinking out loud right now, but even though you're getting positive power to the starter, you're not getting ground. But I think the problem is right now, if I put my test light into that little plug and turn the switch, it does not have power to it, which would make sense. So somewhere along the way, it breaks the ground, and it won't get power to this wire if the ground is broken. So going through troubleshooting, I'm sorry, I got myself thinking now, so I'm probably confusing you guys too if you're even listening anymore. I'm gonna go through, tinker with it, and let you guys know what I find, I guess. Okay, so I was wrong. I couldn't wrap my head around. Sorry, my daughter's over here dancing on one foot trying to learn how to ride a bike. I couldn't wrap my head around how how a negative fault could interrupt a positive circuit, and in this case, it doesn't. Okay, so my starter is grounded to the frame. The only way that a negative safety switch could work that I can understand is if your starter wasn't grounded directly to the frame, if it was grounded back to a ground lug, and that lug then ran through your safety switches. So in this case, the safety switches are actually positive cutouts, and I figured that out just by, again, tracing the wires. I've showed you guys this before. So on the back of my starter switch right here, I tested with the key, which wire was hot depending on what I was doing. That big white and red wire there is the main from the battery. And just to, I guess it's y'all's left there's a black with red wire. That black with red goes hot when I turn the key to the start position only. Down on my starter, there's also a black with red. But interestingly enough, when you cross over at this connection here, the black with red becomes a solid blue wire. Can't get that to focus, you guys can't see anyway. It becomes a solid blue. So I tried chasing that solid blue down through the wiring harnesses all through the dash here, and I can't find it. I can't figure out where it goes. But what I also did was I checked on, this is the clutch cutout, and this is the gear selector cutout. I checked both of those, and both of those, when I turn the key to the run position, they have power to them. Which means that they somehow power around in a loop to then connect back over. They somehow, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to explain this well, but they're hot. I think they were hot when I turned the key to the start position also, not just when the key was on, but when the key goes to the start position. Don't quote me on that. Regardless, both of those switches have power to them. They're not a neutral interruption, they are a positive interruption. So, long story short, I couldn't figure out where the blue wire went, so I said, I don't care where it goes, I'm just going to bypass it. Guys, I've told you, like, I don't like rednecking things. I would rather fix it correctly, but if either one of these little switches is bad, I don't know how to test it to know if it's bad, other than bypass it and then things work, and it's like, okay, well, the switch was bad. But I'm not going to bypass both of them. I bypassed this one, just cut the wires and twisted them together, okay? So my clutch safety switch is bypassed now, which they're all bypassed now, but I bypassed that one, and that didn't fix the issue. That one has like 4 wires in it, and I don't know how to, it has 1 wire coming in that's hot and then 3 wires going out. I don't know if I just lump all 3 of those, or all 4 of them together, excuse me. So anyway, what I've done for now, and basically probably forever, that little blue wire, where I lost it up there, I just tied in my own blue wire. I bought all this wire super cheap on Amazon, and so I bought a bunch of different colors just for fun. So it turned out I actually had blue wire, and this is good, actually decent thick wire. It's 16 gauge, which is pretty big for like automotive circuiting. And so I just ran that blue wire down and through, and then right down here at the starter solenoid, I crossed it back over to the factory black with red. Now this black with red is a very small wire compared to the black with red that comes off the back of the starter switch. Is huge. Anyway, just crossed them over, jumped on the tractor, turned the key to the start position, and she cranked right over. So the habit, of course, is still to push the clutch in and make sure you're in neutral, but I'm pretty sure the tractor will crank regardless. If either one of those things is engaged, I think it's still going to crank up. But the important thing now is that I can be sitting in the seat. So if I turn the key to the start position and it lurches forward because it's in gear, that's okay, because I'm sitting in the seat and my hand is on the shift linkage. If it lurches forward because it's in gear, I can throw the clutch in and knock it out. So that's a lot better than standing on the ground right here between the tires, reaching in with a screwdriver and trying to jump the solenoid. So long story short, I started tracing it, couldn't figure out where it went, rednecked it, bypassed all of it. So that should bypass all all of my safety switches as far as I can tell. And you know what? I'm just fine with that.